Artistic Gymnastics Championships takes place in Basel, Switzerland. A place of beautiful scenery, of forests, of mountains, of fairy tales, dreams. The 23-year-old who won an even bars bronze. Gymnastics Championships takes place in Basel, Switzerland. A place of beautiful scenery, of forests, of mountains, of fairy tales. Dreams and fairy tales after a year of nightmares. How nice it is to be reminded that dreams do indeed exist. We welcome out the competitors onto the field of play for the women's all-around final at the 2021 European Artistic Gymnastics Championships. Barbara Mokashova first out. The 23-year-old who won an even bars bronze in 2020. Ada Hautala, the 17-year-old who is the silver medalist at the reigning national championships. Marta Pijan-Kulesza, the 33-year-old from Poland, the reigning Polish all-around champion, followed by Lichi of Israel, who was a floor bronze medalist at the championships in Mersin at the end of last year. Chenga Bachkoy, the team bronze medalist from those championships in Mersin, comes out as well, the 18-year-old from Budapest. Emma Slevin makes history as the first ever Irish gymnast to compete in an all-around final. The athlete from Valja-Clare Nigolev, flag bearer at the Youth Olympic Games for Ireland. Now this is the third group coming out. We've just seen the fourth group. Anastasia Bachinska, the 17th strongest qualifier, and the 17-year-old who won team gold in 2020. Cheyenne Petit of France, the 18-year-old making her senior international debut. She's not making her senior international debut. Kim Bui, an absolute veteran competitor, the 32-year-old. Who was an all-around silver medalist at the 2019 National Championships. Maisa Kutsiko of Finland, the 21st strongest performer in qualification. The 15-year-old is the reigning all-around national championship. Tonja Paulsson of Sweden, the 17-year-old, is the reigning national champion and makes her senior international debut. No senior debut for Elina Virova. She's been around for a little while now. The 19th strongest in qualification, who made her debut in 2019 at the European Championships. Into the last second is Jutta Verkest of Belgium, senior international debut for the young athlete. Caroline Audouy of France, the 17-year-old, was the 9th strongest in qualification. It is her senior European Championship debut. Jessica Gadirova of Great Britain was the 8th strongest in qualification. She also makes her senior international debut, but she's been making a lot of noise for some time domestically and at youth level. Elizabeth Seitz is a veteran performer, the 27-year-old trained at MTV in Stuttgart. She's a 5-time German all-around champion. Lieke Wevers of Netherlands is well and truly back. The 29-year-old was the 13th strongest in qualification. She's joined by another experienced athlete, the 25-year-old Filipa Martins from Porto in Portugal, the reigning Portuguese all-around champion. We have Zoya Sekai. We're in the top group of gymnasts now, but Sekai was the second reserve, the 17-year-old who took uneven bars silver at the European Championships in Mersin. Victoria Listonova joins her in the first group. The 15-year-old makes her senior international debut and was the second strongest performer in qualifying. There's your top qualifier, folks. Angelina Melnikova, the 20-year-old from Voronezh in the Russian Federation, and the bronze medalist in 2019 at world and European level. Naomi Visser of the Netherlands, the 19-year-old from Papendrecht. She has potential to really jump from qualification as the first reserve. There was Amelie Morgan for a moment, the 6th strongest in qualification. The British athlete won many Youth Olympic Games medals, and she's joined by the 5th strongest in qualification, Martina Maggio of Italy, the 19-year-old, at her second senior European Championships. Hope you got all of that. That's a lot of competitors. What an absolute joy it is to have your company, your companionship, your friendship here. If 2019 was a dream year for many competitors, 2020 was something of a nightmare year, and yet there were 2 European Championships across those 2 years, 2 very different European Championships, and we have a bringing together of the very best of 2019 and the very best of 2020. You see, from darkness comes dawn. The sun rises in the east. The sun rises in the land where, of course, the sun begins. Japan, Tokyo, the games of the 32nd Olympiad on everyone's minds. And also the European all-around final in women's artistic gymnastics. Lovely to have your company, one and all, whatever country, whatever time zone, whatever level of experience of gymnastics. Ollie Hogben here. It's a great pleasure to be joined by Blythe Lawrence. And Blythe, what have we seen so far at these championships?
So far, this competition has been a collision of forces, Ollie. Normally, gymnasts would have been able to warm up a bit for this European Championships with a number of World Cup events, national competitions, things like that. But given the circumstances, they haven't had the opportunity to do that this year. So for many of these gymnasts that we're going to see today, this is their first competition in an arena in more than a year. So simultaneously, it's an event where they're shaking off some of the rust, yet it's also a very high-stakes competition, competing for European honors, as well as trying to qualify for the Olympic Games, as we've seen in the past couple of days.
It seems there are about 500,000 different narratives going on at this competition. We've had some withdrawals from the all-around final, sensible withdrawals, strategic withdrawals when thinking about the long game building towards the games of the Summer Olympiad. A special mention must go to some of those gymnasts, especially to Larissa Iordache of Romania, who qualified in highly emotional circumstances for the Olympic Games. I don't know how emotional she was, but the gymnastics fan base was utterly gripped by the whole process. I think that much of the sporting world was gripped by the whole process, and she has made the sensible decision, having qualified for the Olympic Games with a kidney infection, posted a video on TikTok of her dancing around in a surgical gown, and has decided not to turn up to the competition wearing that surgical gown, has decided quite sensibly to step away. That provides an opportunity for some competitors. We actually have all three reserves deployed in this final, and two of those reserves are in the top group, Zoya Sekai and Naomi Fisser, and really at the last minute, Jutta Verkest of Belgium coming in to replace Julia Steingruber. We're looking at the gymnasts now who begin their campaign on the balance beam. These are the gymnasts in Group 3, 15 through to 21, along with Cheyenne Petit, the 25th strongest in qualification. These are the gymnasts who were the 4th strongest group of qualifiers, 22nd to 30th in the qualification process because of the 2 per country rule that prevents more than 2 competitors from the nations that finish high up the leaderboard from entering the all-around competition. We caught a glimpse there of Lichi Ratz, who took a bronze medal for Israel in her senior European Championship debut, the first ever Israeli women's artistic gymnastics continental medal. But we ought to really, Blythe, talk about this athlete here, for she is, after all, Angelina Melnikova, the top qualifier.
The top qualifier indeed, and she has become the veteran and the leader of the Russian Federation team. We will see 2 Russians in the competition today, and they are 2 very different Russians, aren't they, Ollie? We have Melnikova, she is the veteran, as we said, and we have Victoria Listunova, who is in her European Championship debut, senior international debut, and she has had quite a competition already.
It seems across the men's and women's competition that we have the same narrative, and we'll talk about the men's competition in due course, that there is an established Russian favourite and a newcomer who might just make things a little bit tricky. Most intriguing. And then we were having a conversation earlier about the threats for the bronze medal, and we decided there are about 950 different possible bronze medalists in this field.
Well, we were saying that the Russians top 2 in the qualifications, and then the battle for the bronze medal is the other 22 gymnasts in this all-around final. It really looks like it is a very open competition for spots on the podium, particularly potentially that 3rd place spot.
And so we begin. A moment of calmness before the start of competition. We're with the first group, and Zoya Sekai, the 32nd strongest performer in qualification, 13.166 for the vault.
Here she goes, Yurchenko-style vault with a full twist, just a small hop at the end. Zoya Sekai is absolutely brilliant on the uneven bars, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see her there in just a few minutes' time. But a good beginning for her, especially considering perhaps maybe 24, 48 hours ago, she was thinking that she hadn't qualified to this all-around final.
It's an interesting observation you make, because it was the uneven bars that was her undoing in the qualification process, and yet she is the silver medalist from the last European Championships. So she's a gymnast with the potential to bump up her score quite a bit if that uneven bars routine goes according to plan.
And it's true that it is a big if. She has a lot of difficulty at phenomenal high-flying routine. When it goes well for her on bars, she's fabulous.
So a touch of housekeeping for those of you who are new to watching women's all-around competition. All four pieces, the vault, the uneven bars, the balance beam, the floor exercise, all of the scores added together. No opportunity to discard anything, just the one vault undertaken, unlike the vault final, which will be happening tomorrow. And so we'll be keeping a close eye on those qualification numbers and trying to give you a sense of who's up and who's down from qualification. We head now to the uneven bars, where competition will be getting underway in just a moment. Experienced athlete is Filipa Martins from Portugal. She won the Portuguese title on the uneven bars in the most recent incarnation of the competition. So Zoya Sekai scores 13.2. That's just a little bit less than a tenth up from her qualification performance. Plenty of action coming across all of the different apparatuses, and we'll attempt to bring you updates on those gymnasts we're not able to see. As we look now at Jutta Verkest of Belgium, just in as the third reserve. Away she goes.
Very nice form, clean swing. One thing it's essential to do on uneven bars is to hit the angles of the handstands. Code of points mandates that you should be within 10 degrees of vertical. Coming out of all of those pirouettes. She's done a very nice job so far. A full twisting double tuck dismount.
Well, it's not surprising that she has a look of satisfaction as she steps away from the apparatus there. This is a gymnast who received very little notice that she was taking her place in this competition. It's always wise as the third reserve to be absolutely ready to go, and well, she looked like she was absolutely ready to go.
This was a very nice beginning performance for her, and you know, this is what gymnasts train to do. On a moment's notice, you should be able to go out there and hit your routines, and that's exactly what she did. Good start for her.
Whenever one thinks of a Belgian gymnast coming in at the last second, I always think of Jimmy Verbees at the Olympic Games. He had to sort of grab his gear and get to the venue, I think, incredibly quickly. Well, that's a job well done there for Jutta Verkest. We'll come back to her later in her senior international debut. Brief moment to look out over the St. Jakobshalle in Basel, Switzerland, hosting this competition in one of its 11 spaces.
Switzerland last hosted the European Championships in Artistic Gymnastics in 2016. At that time it was in Bern, different venue, different city.
I can just let you know that Victoria Listonova scored 14.466 on the vault, exactly as she did in qualification. That is a most impressive beginning for her. 12.466 for Verkest. She's down by just about half a mark from qualification. Nonetheless, a most credible opening of her senior account. to the floor exercise, and we're with Ada Hautala of Finland. Well, she is the reigning national champion on this piece, the 17-year-old from Liminka, a small town in the west centre of Finland.
And very aggressive start for her with this double layout. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the height or the push to get it quite to her feet and takes the fall, so that will be a point deduction for her. But what we have seen so far from this Finnish team has been very impressive. They have upped their difficulty, they have upped the level of their tumbling, and they are making real strides on the European scene. This her second pass, punch front through to a double full, no problems there.
Yes, Finland well represented at these European Championships. Now, just to give you an update on Anglia Melnikova, 14.733 for her vault, and that is up by over a tenth from qualification. So we are now having a look at the work of the uneven bars.
And very, very well done so far. The Kachev with a half turn connected directly to an Ezhova. Combination from high bar to low bar.
Well, well, well. That is most interesting from Jessica Gadirova, British gymnast, senior international to go. So now we'll stick with the floor exercise and Marta Pihan Kulesha. And I think you might enjoy this one, folks. Well, that is a great shame, and she has just taken the opportunity to sit and move no further, and that's absolutely the wisest move from a very experienced gymnast. But poor Marta Pihan Kulesha.
It's rather
goodness
hard
me.
to see what happened just there on the landing of that leap.
One thing you have to admire here in the gymnast is having the state of mind, the wherewithal to just stop straight away, go no further. She's not moving, she's waiting for treatment.
Absolutely the right thing to do.
We'll try to update you on that in due course. We're going to head to Elizabeth Seitz on the uneven bars, 14.233 in qualification. Big performer on this apparatus.
Big performer, big skills. That the Jaeger pike. She actually has her own element on the uneven bars. I'm not sure if we're going to see it in this routine, but she does have a Seitz named after her in the code of points. A lot of variety, a lot of flight in this routine. Great combinations as well.
Well, Elisabeth Seitz of the German national team, and they've taken a decision as a team to show a variety of competition attire. It's a very deliberate and a wonderful decision made to point out that there are many different attires a gymnast can wear when they perform, and that people should feel quite rightly free to make their choice about it and not have perhaps some old-fashioned standards dictated to them.
Yes, it was a team decision. They said that they wanted to be models for young gymnasts, to let them know that there are other choices besides just the traditional leotard.
Well, she was a European Championship all-around silver medalist in 2017. She's also won uneven bars honours. We're going to bring you this score of Elisabeth Seitz, but also a little bit of an update on what's happening over on the vault, where Melnikova, as I mentioned, has upped her score slightly from qualification by just over a tenth. Now, Martina Maggio has produced a score of 14.233. She's up by a tenth. Amelie Morgan, 13.633. And here we go. We're now going to bring you some of those vaults. So just ignore everything I've said. Pretend you're watching it for the first time, and you'll enjoy the surprise. Here is Angelina Melnikova.
And this should be a double twisting Yurchenko. That is her go-to vault. Excellent. Terrific form in the air. Very, very good landing, good height, good block off the horse. Really, she could not have asked for a better way to start. And this vault, so clean, so clean. Just a little bit of legs crossed in the air if you want to be really picky, but we don't want to be really picky, do we, Ollie? This was very, very impressive. Spots that landing, is able to go for what is really nearly a stick.
14.733, a 9.333 execution score. That is the way a favourite begins a competition. This is the balance beam, and a chance to look at Maisa Kuusikko of Finland. She's the reigning national champion on this piece, as well as the all-around champion. She's only 15, gymnast from Tampere.
She's already gotten through her flight series, back handspring, followed by 2 layouts, and moving very well. As we saw from her teammate on floor exercise, the Finnish women are really coming on all of a sudden. Impressive work so far from her.
And she will finish on the uneven bars, which is traditionally her strongest piece as well. I say traditionally, how can anything be traditional when you're just a 15-year-old senior international debutant? What an accomplished looking gymnast.
Yes, she already looks very poised, very comfortable on the international stage, which is not always the case when you're 15, but really dealt with this routine quite well. Tumbles into that dismount, back handspring, 1.5 twist. Good start for her.
Now, Ellie Seitz scored 14.033 on the uneven bar. She's down by 0.2 from her qualification score. Marta Pianculesha has been led away from the competition floor, and if we get any updates on her condition, we'll try to bring you those. Lihi Hrats won a bronze medal at the European Championships on floor in 2020. Here she returns to the European stage. The Iordache is a gymnast who qualified for the Games of the Summer Olympiad courtesy of her performance at the 2019 World Championships. We will endeavour to go into some of the ins and outs of who has qualified so far and the ways they've qualified, but we do need about 14 hours to do all of that because it's an intricate process. And she also has a few intricate processes going on in her floor work.
Oh, she does. Very nice full twisting double tuck to open. This is a new routine for her this year. She competed to Roxanne at the 2020 European Championships, but same very solid tumbling. There, the triple full.
So we're now looking at Filipa Martins of Portugal on the uneven bars. This was her best piece in qualification. Very strong, interesting work. And
you can see why. One of the trends that we are seeing on uneven bars during this Olympic cycle is the combination of Tkachev skills followed by Pak Salto style skills to the low bar, and then these Shaposhnikova style skills back up to the high bar. And this routine, lots of flight, lots of height, and a great double layout.
That is lovely work from Filipa Martins, the 25-year-old from the city of Porto. She trains at Acro Club de Maia. Wow, real amplitude.
Fantastic technique. Ms. Stalder Tkachev with a half turn connected immediately.
Well, we are seeing across the board some gymnasts picking up some injuries. 12.5 for Maisa Kursiko. And I think this is where that point you made at the start, Clive, is really significant. A lot of these gymnasts have barely competed for some time, and all of the gymnasts have said, look, there is a massive difference between training and between being on the competition floor, as Kratz scores 11.9.
And notice that difficulty score. Score is a little bit low. She didn't quite have all of the difficulty that she is possibly capable of, and that's reflected in the total score, of course. The final score, your difficulty plus your execution, what you do and how well you do it.
This is not Filipa Martins, this is Italy's Martina Maggio. And she is about to vault. Fifth strongest in qualification.
That Yurchenko with 1.5 twists, blind landing. She got a great deal of amplitude on this vault. We've seen her do a double twisting Yurchenko before. She's playing it a little bit safe, not opting to do all of the difficulty she's capable of. But look at the distance, look at the height, and look at the way that she just opens out her arms in order to go for this landing. Really good stuff.
Easy to see why that is an improvement of 1/10 from her qualification performance. She's enjoyed vaulting in this country. She was the junior European vault champion in 2016 at the championships in Bern. She is a gymnast who was very close to securing one of the qualification berths at the Olympic Games, which were decided by the qualification performance a couple of days ago. To the British gymnast who excelled at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires in 2018, Amelie Morgan, 13.633 in qualification.
This just a lovely, effortless looking, full twisting Yurchenko. Again, she is a gymnast who is capable of doing a little bit more difficulty if she wants to, but earlier this year she had her training time hampered a little bit by illness, and so wasn't able to perhaps prepare for this event quite as well as she might have otherwise. But she is doing what she can, and this was very good.
13.633 for Amelie Morgan. Yes, as you said, Blythe, Amelie Morgan contracted COVID at the very beginning of the year. She said that recently in an interview and said that her advice would be to all young gymnasts, don't panic. It's okay. Just you can only do what you can do, whether you're training remotely, whether you're training in a gym, whether you're doing whatever. And we've got competitors coming up who've been in the men's final who've been practicing still rings routines on trees in the local park.
Well, people have certainly been forced to improvise during the pandemic, but for some of these gymnasts, it has also afforded them a measure of rest and recuperation. And what we've seen in coming back now is that they look quite rested, quite fit, and quite fresh, many of them.
Fresh in terms of the international stage is Victoria Listunova of the Russian Federation. This, her vault. In qualification, her score was 14.466, the junior all-around world champion.
And there is a double twisting Yurchenko. That has been her go-to vault. Well done. A little bit of a kind of kick turn off of the table.
Now we're heading to Emma Slevin of Ireland on the floor exercise. She is so used to being a trend-setting gymnast. The first Irish gymnast to compete at the Youth Olympic Games, the first Irish woman, and indeed any gymnast, to qualify for the European Championship all-around final.
And such consistent progression. Look at the lift and the form on this double pike somersault. Every time we see Emma, she is a little bit more polished, she is a little bit stronger, and she comes into this competition making history for Ireland and performing really, really well.
Last time she competed was at the Irish Team Championships in November of 2019, where she won the uneven bars title, and that was one of her stronger pieces in qualification. So there's the confirmation that Victoria Listunova has scored a 14.466, exactly the same as she did in the qualifying campaign. So all around, a strong set of displays from the top group at the vaulting table. No real issues there. Naomi Fisser, by the way, gained almost half a mark from qualification for her vault, so that's really promising for a gymnast who actually has the potential to move around a little bit. Emma Slevin starts with 12.3, so not only has she come in and made history in this final, she's also improved by 0.3 of a mark from qualification. Isn't it lovely to once again feel the thrill of a European Championship all-around final? Angelina Melnikova leads, Victoria Listunova in second place, plus ça change. Look down the order. Martina Maggio, Felipa Martins, what a start from her. Elizabeth Seitz, who we expect to be high up, starting on the uneven bars.
And for Felipa Martins, that was an enormous routine and well-deserved, that score, 14 plus. Really a model of one of the great routines that we see on uneven bars at the moment, and a huge feather in her cap.